Tirumala Yatrai செல்ல வேண்டும் என் திருமலையப்பனை சேவிக்கவே.
ராதே ராதே. ஞான வைராக்ய சம்பூர்ணான் ஹரிபக்தி பராயணான் பூர்வ ஆச்சார்யான் அஹம் வந்தே சம்பிரதாய பிரவர்த்தகான். ஹரே ராமேதி கிருஷ்ணேதி நாம சங்கீர்த்தனம் சதா லோகக்ஷேமாய குர்வந்தம் பிரேமிகம் சத்குரும் பஜேயே. ராதிகா குஜகஸ்தூரி குங்குமாங்கித வக்ஷசம் ஸ்ருங்கார ரசமூர்த்திம் தம் பக்தகோலாகலம் பஜே. கலயே சுந்தராகாரம் சதைக பிரியதர்ஷனம் அஜ்ஞானநாசகம் தேவம் சத்குரும் முரளீதரம். முரளீமண்டிதகரகமலம் முனிஜனமோகனம் வியத்யஸ்தபாதம் வனமாலாதாரிணம் பிரேமபக்தமண்டல நித்யகீர்த்திதம் பிரேமிகவரதம் ஆஸ்ரயேகம். நாராயணம் நமஸ்கிருத்ய நரஞ்சைவ நரோத்தமம் தேவீம் சரஸ்வதீம் வியாசம் ததோ ஜயமுதீரயேத். வைபவம் திவ்யதேசானாம் புராணேஷு பிரகீர்த்திதம் கத்திதம் காவ்யரூபேண கிருஷ்ணப்ரேமிகசூரினா. நம ஸ்ரீரங்கநாதாய காவேரி மத்யசாயினே அச்சாவதார சிரேஷ்டாய சர்வமங்களதாயினே. சமஸ்த கல்யாண குணாபிராமம் ரமாநிவாசம் ரமணீயகாத்திரம் சசங்கசக்கரம் ஜகதாம் சரண்யம் ஸ்ரீ வெங்கடேஷம் சரணம் பிரபத்யே. நாம சங்கீர்த்தனம் யஸ்ய சர்வ பாப பிரணாசனம் பிரணாமோ துக்கசமனஹ தன்னமாமி ஹரிம் பரம். சத்குரு மகாராஜ் கி ஜெய். ரமாரமண கோவிந்தா கோவிந்தா. With the immense grace of our beloved Guru Maharaj and the wonderful grace of our Aishwarya Sri Srinivasa Perumal, we are relishing this wonderful Yatra of discovering the Lord of the Seven Hills, His greatness, His sweetness, the story behind each of the hills, and the story behind His infinite grace and compassion. We are seeing the first hill, whose name is Vrishabhachala. The reason why we should know the kshetra mahima is because as Bharatiyas, as Indians, we can't help going to temples. We need to go there for whatever reason. But if we understand the story behind the temple and we internalize the infinite grace of Bhagavan, it makes our kshetra yatra complete. So when we enter into Tirumala and we see those grand hills, we remember, oh, these are the seven hills. And this is the history behind each hill. And the history behind each hill exemplifies the causeless mercy and compassion and the love Bhagavan has towards devotees. It fastens ourselves to the feet of the Lord even greater. And the moment we understand the fortune of visiting a temple, we don't take anything for granted. In fact, we feel grateful every moment we enter into the holy Tirtha and the holy Kshetra. Many times we take all these for granted, isn't it? Just because we bought a ticket, we are talking about Tirumala, we might have bought some VIP ticket, so what? The fact that the Lord of the universe is giving darshan to us should not be lost in us. So when we enter and there is a lot of crowd hustling and bustling, instead of feeling, oh my God, where am I caught? We have an alternative way or alternative perspective of thinking so many fortunate people along with me are going to have the darshan of Perumal. Perumal is alike to all these people. He is like a father and mother to all these people. And today Bhagavan has somehow put me in the family of His wonderful devotees. It is a bhagyam. Even the greatest Ambarisha Chakravarti, the Lord of the 9 continents, 7 continents, Shabdadvipavati Mahim. Our Ambarisha Maharaja, when he used to see that Bhagavatas are come knocking the door of the palace, he used to come running and he used to embrace them tightly. And so when we are caught in a crowd which is constantly crying out the names of Govinda, Govinda, Rama Ramana, Govinda, Govinda, we will feel the fortune instead of feeling frustrated. When we have to wait for hours together to have the darshan, we understand the value of darshan, and so we don't fret and fume. And when there are some distractions, people would be people. Instead of looking at defects of people, which is an apachara in itself, it is an offense in itself when we go to Divyadesam. To look at the offense or to look at some defects in the Divyadesam is a papam, you see. But when we internalize the grand story of this Divyadesam, its grandeur, we are protected from such offenses. We are going to see hill after hill. Each of these stories shows us, underlines, highlights the compassion and mercy of Srinivasa Perumal. And it is not just understanding the facts behind the story of each of the hills. In fact, in each of the hills, our Sri Sri Anna, our Paranur Mahatma, has put in every possible bhava of bhakti and jnana, which we will discover. An asura does a stuti. Like Vrittasura did the stuti of 4 shlokas extolling Bhagavan Shri Hari. Here we find the asura which we are going to talk about, Vrishabhasura, also does a wonderful stuti, just like how Vrittasura did a stuti at the very point of his departure from the body, which we generally call death. Our Vrishabhasura is also doing the same thing. When he is vanquished by Lord of the 7 hills, our Srinivasa Perumal, he does a lovely stuti, extolling the kripa of Bhagavan. Generally, when we are put to a little trouble, a bodily trouble or a mental trouble, we tend to blame Bhagavan, we tend to feel negatively towards Bhagavan. Here the other extreme is shown. An asura who is vanquished and who is physically killed by Bhagavan extolled his grace. I think another spiritual and an important blessing of listening to such stories is, finally you know what devotion is. Finally you know what jnana is. It is embracing this principle which our Sri Swamiji loves and quotes a lot, a lovely quote by Bhagavan Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, the godchild of Tiruvannamalai, another hill. He says, all that which is happening to us is not only to be accepted without blame, etc. Right? All that which happens to us is not only to be accepted, but we should also feel gratitude for what is given to us as experience. It has been given to us by Bhagavan because we need it. It has been given at a particular time, in a particular way, in a particular place because we need it. Like a doctor carefully administering medicines, maybe even doing surgery, at various points of time after we get admitted to an hospital, he pokes a needle into our forearm or he pokes a needle into our arms. He gives us bitter medicine and he restricts our diet. At times he tears us open to do surgery also. Yet we realize, I needed all these so that I can live. The same thing applies for a devotee's life, for a person aspiring spiritual enhancement or for a person aspiring happiness. Which is what is a grand goal, whether we call ourselves religious or not. This is a principle which we need to embrace. That which happens to me every point of time is not only to be accepted, but also to be felt grateful for. For we need those experiences at that very point of time, because Bhagavan gives us that experiences because we need them for our own unenfoldment, or for our own growth or expansion, or for our own purpose of life. And the grandest, or rather the most severe of such experiences is the experience of being physically killed. That's the greatest dread all of us have. And here is Bhagavan directly killing Vrishabhasura. And instead of Vrishabhasura saying, Bhagavan, you are so unfair, Vrishabhasura accepts and feels grateful for what is bestowed to him. An Asura can do it. Can't we humans practice it a bit? Is the question we generally get in our heart if we totally absorb ourselves into this wonderful stories narrated by Mahatmas in form of Divyadesa Vaibhavam. Now, accepting something and wanting something are different things. Of course, we don't want pain. We don't request pain. And when there is pain, of course, we have to find ways and means to reduce it. I hope you are with me on that. That when I am put to a painful experience, instead of fighting it, we accept it. And if you want to grow a little further, Bhagavan Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, which our Sri Swamiji quotes often, says, not only accept it or embrace it, which means acknowledge, accept, embrace, feel grateful for it. Now you may ask, why I should feel grateful for an experience which is painful? If you want to grow, expand your consciousness. If we want to be true devotees, if we want to break the glass ceiling of samsara, of worldliness, of mundane living, we need to embrace it. It's an option, it's a choice. Once I make the choice, I am ready to break the glass ceiling of mundane living, mediocre living. I am ready to fly into the vast expanse of spiritual skies, of joy, love and wisdom. That's why we need to embrace them. It's not mandated. It is actually suggested gently by all these wonderful anecdotes and episodes in the history of various divine kshetras. Through the praises, at times uttered by even asuras, to give us a wake-up call that there is an alternative way of life. Like you have alternative medicine for body, this is an alternative medicine for strengthening and transforming ourselves. The lovely stuti of Vrishabhasura, and like Vrittasura, he also gives a very short story, 4 slokas. And that encompasses the grandest spiritual truths. We are now in chapter number Shat-Trimshodhyayaha. So we are in chapter number 36, and this chapter starts, just for you to take the chapter, Vijñāya Sanidhyamatho Murarehe. That's the first line. We are going to now read and experience Vrishabhasura Uvacha. Shloka number 6, 7, 8 and 9. Vrishabhasura Uvacha Jagatpate Tvam Kripayavatirno Virajate Sesha Girau Mukunda Anugrahartam Cha Satam Muninam Tatha Kalanam Api Nigrahartam Tavaiva Hastena Vado Mamaivam praptastadetan mama bhagyameva vimuchya papadahamapi ananta tavaiva padau sharanam gatosmi. The first two slokas, he says, Jagatpate Sarvaloka Sharanyasri Seshadri Shikara Prabho. Our Bhagavan Srinivasa Perumal is Jagatpati. He is not only the Pati of people who are living around Tirumala. He is not only the Pati of all Sanatana Dharmis. He is the Pati of the entire Jagat, the entire universe. All the humans, all the animals, all the life forms, nature, Jagatpati. So the moment he looked at Srinivasa Perumal, he didn't see the one who killed me. He saw the Lord of the universe and he addresses him that. And Bhagavan, after vanquishing Vrishabhasura, was about to leave. But then, out of his tremendous kripa, thought, why not come and give darshan to this Asura? Even if he's Asura, he's okay, he's my child. And when he comes and gives darshan to an Asura, when Perumal does that, at the point of death, when the Asura has the wonderful darshan and sakshatkara of Perumal, Asura attains moksha, Bhagavan's kripa. The first question when the speaker met our Swamiji had was, why do he have to kill Asuras? Why not reform them? And I was very naive, and it was quite some time back, decades back. Swamiji immediately gave a lovely answer. I already narrated that in other satsang. I will give you a gist of his answer. He says, if somebody takes the money from the purse and throws away the purse, is that a big loss? No. Bhagavan protects the soul of the Asuras whom he vanquishes and discards the body. And hence he does anugraham, he does benediction. He bestows upon benediction to even Asuras by protecting the soul, which is far more important than the body. Since we are ignorant of our true spiritual nature, we put the body above the soul. In fact, we think a soul lives in the body. But the reality is, a soul merely gets a small clothing called the body. In its long journey, spiritual journey, it takes on various millions, zillions of bodies. If the final destination is reached by the soul in form of moksha, does it really matter how many shirts I discarded? So that's the secret. So here Vrishabhasura is clarifying that doubt which we may have. That's the beauty of Divyadesa Vaibhavam by Sri Sri Anna. Jakatpate tvam kripavatirno virajate seshagirau mukunda anugrahartam cha satam muninam tatha khalanam api nigrahartam. Jagatpate, the Lord of both Asuras, Devas and humans. Jagatpati. You, out of your tremendous kripa, avatirno, you come down. Avataranam means descend, come down. Not just physically. So when a very well positioned person in the society, an elite, a very rich person, when he's walking down the road and somebody says, "Sir, can you please help me?" Forgetting the position he is in, forgetting that he is very rich, etc., he can give that help through a phone call. When that very rich, very well placed socially person himself comes and says, "Tell me what I can do for you. Can you please push this little cart from this side of the road to that side of the road?" And he does that. You see? Isn't that true kripa? Likewise, Bhagavan has all the forces at his disposal, but he chose to himself come down. That is the love he has for all of us. And why does he come down? And he came down as Archavatara in this wonderful 7 hills, Seshagiri. Who? Mukunda, the one who frees people from the bondage of repeated births and deaths. He is called Mukunda. The one who gives moksha is Mukunda. He comes only for one reason. Anugrahartam cha satam munina. He comes down to bestow his grace upon sadhus who surrender to him and people who follow his word in form of doing sadhanas like dhyana or vichara, etc., or karma kanda, etc. To protect them, paritranaya sadhunam. You can protect a sadhu only by stopping the hindrances and the troubles given by a wicked person, isn't it? So, paritranaya sadhunam is the important reason why Bhagavan descends, whether it is Rama, Krishna avatars or Archavadara like Sri Ranganatha Swami or Te Perumal or Srinivasa Swami. Anugrahartam chasatam muninam tatha akalanam api nigrahartam. So for us to protect sadhus, people who create trouble for sadhus need to be punished. Without controlling the dushtas, without controlling people who are troublemakers for sadhus, sadhus cannot be protected. Those dushtas cannot be corrected. They have this tremendous vasana balam. And it's not easy, it's not possible for them to reform. It is easier for us at times. Please understand this. Don't ask hypothetical questions like nothing is impossible for Bhagavan, etc. Of course not. He has his own sweet will to do the way he wants it to. No? Let me give you an example. You start a manufacturing plant. It ran well. Suddenly it went into trouble, deeper trouble, etc. Now it has gone into such a trouble that investing more money in the plant would only be a waste of money. What can a good entrepreneur do? Find a different site, create a new plant, and give the same employment opportunity to all the people who were so loyal to that entrepreneur. Take them all, post them in the new plant and start anew, start afresh. Likewise, you call it a sick plant, isn't it? A sick endeavor. Likewise, Bhagavan thought, why should I keep trying and sinking my resources when the easier way is I will finish off his body and protect the soul. And so, the only way for a dushta, for a wicked person to reform is to get a blow from Bhagavan, you see. And here this Asura is saying, Nigrahartam, I need to, get a proper punishment from you. And I understand that's also Anugraham. Why? Tavaiva hastena vado mamaivam, I am vanquished by your own hands. And when Bhagavan Mukunda vanquishes an Asura, it means that is the end of his spiritual journey. He has attained the destination, moksha for him. Such a great bhagyam, na? He understands that this is a mahabhagyam for me. Tavaiva hastena vado mamaivam praptastadetan mama bhagyameva. You have bestowed me with a great fortune of punishing me and relieving me of this burden called this body which is filled more with sins than with virtues. Vimuchya papa adahamapi ananta. Now I am completely relieved from the burden of my sins in one stroke. In one stroke. In one stroke, Bhagavan relieves him of all the burden of his past sins by vanquishing him. For Tavaiva padau sharanam gatosmi, so I completely surrender unto your holy feet. I understood your Swarupa, I understood your grace now. He goes on to explain the rationale of his perspective. Maturyatha shikshanam ardhakanam kshemaya vaideva tatha suranam tvaya kritam shikshanam api amogam badram dadatyeva daya samudra. Maturyatha shikshanam ardhakanam. This asura is talking in the same refrain as a Bhagavata asura in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bali Chakravarti, the grandson of Prahlada Swami. When our Vamana Bhagavan came, asked for 3 pieces of land, and he took the earth and his heavenly possessions and asked for the 3rd feet, Bali gave his head and said, Bhagavan, all that is mine has already been taken by you. Only that which remains is me. Please accept me as your 3rd contribution from my side. Accept me as your 3rd feet. And Bhagavan immediately put his feet and then pushed our Bali down to the Rasatala, to Suthala. And Bali is telling all his Asura friends, Bhagavan has bestowed the highest benediction on me, highest grace on me. Bhagavan's grace is of 2 types, as Mahatmas and our Guru Maharaj says. The first type of Bhagavan's grace is, he will give small little blessings in form of, affluence or good position or name, fame, some little desires met, and then fool us. The second type of grace is, whatever has been bestowed upon us, he will grab everything away and finally give himself to us, like he did for Bali. A mature spiritual mind understands that the second type of grace is the real grace. It is the supreme grace. And our Bali is actually reflecting this point very beautifully. Un Karunai Enbadhennavo Kanna. Our Madhurageetham. Kanna, Krishna, what is really your compassion? Unmaiyai Solliduvaai. Tell me the truth. Unmaiyai Solliduvaai. Tell me the truth. Why? Because Krishna can also, just for the sake of pacifying us, may say something. But we say, I am ready for the truth. Please tell me the truth. Shama Sundara, tell me the truth. Nidhiyum padaviyum sugabhoga vaalkayum unkarunai enbadhennavo. People who are fools get fooled. They say lot of money, position and very comfortable, luxurious life is your grace. But I don't agree. Why? Meendum piravi piliyil thallum ivaiyapadi mundan karunayagum. That which pushes us again and again in the cycle of birth and death, how can that be a blessing? Unmaiyum tavam uyarvolokamum unjalanathil idamana bhaktiyum ஞானமும் விரக்தியும் வருமாகில்வோ எந்தனுக்கு அதுவே உன் கருணை தாமரை கண்ணா சரணம் அடைந்தேன் ஆணை கருளியவன் முரளீதரனுக்கு அருள்வதென்னாலும். Our Swamiji says, if I can follow a life of truth, of controlling my senses, penance, tapas, and enhancing my righteousness, enhancing my good qualities, and having unfailing devotion towards your lotus feet, come what may. Feeling a little more averse to worldly joys and attaining the wisdom of the true self. I think that's your real Kripa. That's what our Bali understood and told all the Asuras. That Bhagavan may apparently bestow grace by giving things of this world and hiding himself from us. Or Bhagavan can even grab back all that which has been bestowed to us and then show himself and give himself to us. That's a greater grace. So here, Mathuryata Sikshanam Arbhakaya. Mathuryata Sikshanam Arbhakana Kshemaya Vaideva Tata Surana Tvayakritam Sikshanam Apiyamogam Bhadram Dadatyeva Daya Samudra. What Bhagavan does when he gives himself away to the devotees, the outer world won't see all that. Outer world can see only through the lens of worldly possessions, name, fame, self-interest, etc. Here, he gives an example, like a mother, like a father, like a guru. Bhagavan bestows true grace. Suppose there is a guru, a true guru, genuine guru. He has a lot of students. And there are some students who come from a very poor background. They need to be proficient in studies for their livelihood. And then there are some very affluent people who want to just put a tick mark for education, who comes and sit in the class. And they come with the golden chain, rings, they have the latest gadgetry and all that. And in a class, a guru knows that this very affluent, spoiled child is just sitting with the book in his hand. And that person is not studying, is not getting educated at all. The guru tried pointing out, the child was upset. The guru tried pointing out to the parents were even more upset. Then he realized. And he constantly is benignly harsh with the poor students. He punishes the poor students more than the rich student. To a normal eye, it may appear, because he is rich, this teacher is not, is not punishing me. Looks like the teacher is favoring the rich over the poor students. The truth is opposite. The teacher realizes whether he studies or not, his livelihood is taken care. But these kids need to be proficient in their education to elevate themselves in society. These kids are more open to education. So he actually gives them a little more, if I can use the word, harsh treatment for their own benefit. Like a mother out of her love at times uses some sharp words and punishes the child out of love towards the child. When a mother does that, it is for the kshema, it is for the welfare of the child. Likewise he says, like a mother who at times punishes the child only for its welfare, you also do the same for devas and asuras. Tvaya kritam sikshanam api amogam. If you do sikshana, if you do punishment to the asuras, even that is unfailing. It is for the unfailing good of asuras, like you have done to me. Bhadram dadati. Unfailingly, it gives only auspiciousness and benediction. Why? Because you are a compassionate ocean of compassion. Asura says all that. Likewise, our Kabir Das says in one of the dogas, my guru started to hunt his disciples, mounting on a flashy red horse with a bow and arrow in his hand. The disciples started running around. The fortunate were hit, the unfortunate missed. You see the same with Mahatmas. There are some people who come to a Mahatma out of the love to serve the Mahatma, out of the love for spirituality, love for developing bhakti, jnana, vairagya. You find that the master would be he will take the liberty like a mother to be harsh with his devotees. Why? Out of his tremendous love, so that he understands that these people need to be matured, they need to be made as bhaktas, jnanis, vairagis. So his treatment towards those type of disciples would be different from his treatment towards casual devotees who are not yet ready to grow spiritually. Only foolish disciples would misunderstand this and start complaining. The fact that we enter into a satsang shows that Bhagavan, our own destiny, whatever you call it, has guided us into this wonderful place to transform, reform ourselves, and is a result of punya from this tremendous past. If we allow our small, sick mental tricks to influence us and start fighting with our own guru in the satsang, it is like a child kicking its own mother. The mother is still very patient because she is clear, whether you know or not, you need this. You need to deal with it. And I am going to ensure you come out of it as a polished gem, taintless crystal, spatikam, and a fully bloomed flower to offer to the feet of Krishna. Guru is very patient. He knows the whole story. He may not tell us. That's how Bhagavan is also. Like a mother at times punishing the child for the well-being of the child. Bhagavan also extends punishment to asuras for the well-being of both devas and asuras. Nobody loses when Bhagavan does something. Everybody gains from it. So he says, Janami aham tvam jagadekanatham Sishtasya drushtasya vasanti loke Dushtopi aham tavaka eva nunam Tasmadaham te dayaniya jivaha. So when a mother chastises a child or uses the wand with the child, it is only for the welfare of the child. And when a guru at times uses harsh treatment towards the Shishya, it is only for the welfare of the Shishya. Even the anger at times which may be seen in the Guru's interaction is only directed towards the anugraha. It's called kopanugraham. Likewise, we should not think that the Guru does not like me or a Guru favors that person more than this person. That person's need is different, this person's need is different. If we truly want to grow spiritually, we should be ready to taste the bitter medicine and not be fooled by some flowery words offered to some other person who wants only those flowery words. And our past and the infinite grace of Bhagavan has led us to a satsang, and our destiny is not receiving light flowery words from the Guru. Whether we like or not, our destiny is to grow spiritually into a loving and a wise devotee of Bhagavan. And Guru's job is that, whether we like it or not, like a bitter medicine. And when a Guru is angry with us, we need to remember that it is out of the worry and the care He has for us to develop us into a completely fully bloomed, perfect jiva to be offered to the feet of the Lord. It is only out of kripa that even that anger comes out. So here our Asura says, Vrishabhasura, Janamyaham Tvam Jagadekanatham. When there is Jagat, when there is world, there will be people who are virtuous, there will be vicious people also. But the world has been created, sustained, maintained, nourished by Srinivasa Perumal, Jagadekanatham. So we can't say that people who are virtuous alone are your children. They are the only ones who belong to you. Even the dushtas, even the vicious ones belong to you only. Because you are the one Swami, the one Lord of this entire world. And so whatever you do for Sishtas and Dushtas is for the benefit of both Sishtas and Dushtas, because both of them belong to you. Both of them are created by you. But then only those wonderful Bhagavatas means people who belong to Bhagavan. Even Dushtas are supposedly Bhagavatas, they don't realize it, because everybody belongs to Bhagavan. But Bhagavatas realize that they belong to Bhagavan and they completely submit themselves to the divine rule of Bhagavan. They submit their senses to the path charted out by Bhagavan. Their work is submitted to chanting of the divine names, talking about Bhagavan. Their eyes are submitted to the darshan of Srinivasa Perumal. Their ears are submitted to listening to Bhagavan's katha, so on and so forth. They are the ones who understand that they submit themselves to Bhagavan. The Dushtas think that they are all very free from the rule of Bhagavan, the rule of Dharma, and so they become Dushtas. They think they are the Swami and not Perumal. And Bhagavan had to correct them so that they understand who they really are. And this Vrishabhasura says, since you are my Lord, even though I am an Asura, you did this punishment to me, you meted out this punishment to me, so that I can also realize who I am and who you are. It is out of your grace that you bestowed this. Bhagavan looked at this Asura and he felt, my goodness, Vrishabhasura, you have flowered in wisdom now. You have flowered in divine love now. It takes millions of janmas of yoga abhyasa, good acts, doing as per karma kanda, etc. to finally get Bhagavad Sakshatkara and jnana like this. But you got all this effortlessly in one janma, in one asura janma. How Bhagavan says, I understand. He says, it is because of the greatness, sanctity and the divinity of this little hill which I have taken as the playground for my leelas. It is because that you are dying in this hill that you had my wonderful vision before you could give up the body. It is not because of your past virtues or your sadhana that I appeared before you. It is the greatness of this hill which makes me come before you and you flower in ripe wisdom. That is the greatness and holiness and divinity of these 7 hills. Yet I am out of this tremendous love I have for you. I am telling this to you. From now on, this divine hill, which has the power to bestow my darshana to people at their time of their death, shall be named after you. Because I love you. I have this abhimana, I care for you. I somehow have a bondage with you. from this day onwards, let this hill be named as Vrishabhadri, Vrishabhachala. That, dear brothers and sisters, is the story of the first hill of Tirumala. The first hill when you put your feet on, remember this story. A divine hill which is going to bestow us with the divine darshan of Perumal during our last moment out of its divinity. The divine love of Bhagavan, who at times expresses his love in form of a bat, at times he expresses the love in form of punch. All those experiences of batting of Bhagavan in form of successes, punching of Bhagavan in form of little pain in life, all of that which we needed, it was essential for our growth. And that lovely hill where Bhagavan himself showed himself to an Asura attained jnana. So when we step on the first hill, remember this lovely story. Whole edifice of devotion lies on the foundation of bhava and faith. So once we look at such granthas with those perspectives, we can grow. As I said, it's an alternative perspective which leads us to joy. The mediocre perspective leads us to a mixture of happiness and sorrow. And that's the eye of a devotee. When we are already in satsang, let's have this alternative perspective of looking upon this wonderful holy kshetras as a blessing to us and not take anything for granted. Let there not be even a word of complaint in our lips when we go on such yatras. Let us be filled only with gratitude that Bhagavan wanted to have our darshan. That's why I am there. And don't use, Bhagavan has still not called me as an excuse for postponing a yatra. May our beloved Guru Maharaj and Srinivasa Perumal fill our hearts with his divine love and the light of wisdom. This week, before we meet again, to talk about the next hill called Narayanadri next week. Radhe Radhe. Kayena vacha manasendriva Vidyatmana va prakrite svabhavat karomi atyat sakalam parasmi Narayanayeti samarpayami.